I 6 months ago, I was a broken man. I lost my family. I lost my dogs. I lost my possessions. I lost my house. I lost everything. And so it's been a rebuild from the ground up. And so I'm using every possible, you know, thing that can help me in my, every resource I have that could possibly be making me the person I want to be. I'm using them. And this area and the the medicine is, I feel, a really, really important part of it.
That's amazing. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your actual journey experience? I mean, you don't have to get too specific, but just maybe some
Oh,
insights that helped you.
Started out with we spent the day preparing. It was actually the entire weekend preparing. A lot of meditation, a lot of listening to really mellow, relaxed music, some with some mantras incorporated and things like that, and some of the things we were enjoying, had a visual element to it as well. So, um, again, trying to prepare. We're in a good private location for it, and took advantage of that seclusion, and then took on the journey at about. I wanted to train assignments, so I was enjoying the best of both worlds. So I was having sunlight into sunset into darkness, and so began the journey around. It was between 4 and 5 o'clock on that Monday, and I had been fasting as well, so it kicked in pretty fast, came on fast, and it was deep. Probably one of the deepest journeys I've been on in terms of not really being in a different plane of existence for a while there, where I was semi aware of the people around me and whatnot, but I was really like somewhere else. I don't know a better way to put that. I was visiting somewhere else.
That's the crazy part about psychedelic experience. They're ineffable, and then you're like, "Wow, I'm so compelled to talk about it, but no words." A lot of these things.
How you put in the words? It was everything I expected and none of it at all. Like I said, it's been probably 20, 25-year gap since I had psychedelics. So the thing I found interesting was a lot came up, a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, a lot of memories came up that were really painful. And I hadn't had that experience in the past, but I realized in retrospect that a lot of wreckage has been left behind since I was in my 20s and whatnot. So there's a lot of things to come to terms with and to face up to and to pop up during a journey like this that I didn't have when I was fresh and naive and pure, and life was a lot simpler. So
Yeah, and back then too. I mean, I'm guessing it was more of a recreational sort of setup. You were probably distracted by the outside world a little bit, maybe a little less.
yeah,
Who knows?
yes and no. It was definitely. I mean, it was definitely more recreational in terms of not working with a team and the preparation and the exacting science going behind, everything being put together. Um, but but it wasn't like, for me, it was, for the most part, knowing that I was going to be going on, even back then, going on a journey, and it was going to be profound. It wasn't like, but true. It was, I knew the power of them even way back then, and respected that. And so when we did partake, we would try to put ourselves in a good. It wasn't like a Friday night, hey, let's do this. It was, being in a good environment and having the proper time and energy and being in a safe space and all that stuff. So we knew the power of it even way back then.
Mm.
Um, but so that was interesting. Just a lot of raw ache, a lot of sadness in that sense.
Mm.
At the same time, there was a lot of hope and feeling. I mean, I spent a lot of time and I talked to the people on my team, there were times when I was being, like, we sat outside for a long time, and I was being overstimulated by the outside. And I said, I think I just want to go inside and get really comfy and just like go away for a little bit, and see what's going on. And, so that's what we did. And so.
Nice. Did that feel like an intuitive? You felt the overstimulation, and you just listened to the intuition, like, I need to go back inside. That's just
Yeah. I changed environment based on how I was feeling, and so like during the deeper part, I was inside, and then went outside for a while, and then I was ready to go back. Consciously, I was ready to go back in and just enter that dimension again. And that's when I said, I want to go inside and just do some looking around inside. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a lot of metaphors, but you know what I'm saying, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's just self-awareness. Like, I need something, I'm gonna go get it for myself. That's completely, and honestly, that level of awareness, first off, when you were 20, that you had the awareness to make that a safe space. Just want to honor that that's huge, because I think most people's first experience with psychedelics is often like at a concert or something, and so there's no exiting. I'm overstimulated, what do I do?
Respect the medicine. Those are my words. Respect the medicine.
Yes.
Honestly, and to everyone out there, you can get, I strongly believe you can get so much more out of your experience if you put the work in ahead of time, to really think about it, to really think about where you want to go, what you want to explore. One of my coaches, I did 1, 2, 4 prep sessions with her. Anyway, her big question to me every time was intention. What are your intentions? What are your intentions? Why are you doing this? And really to put that in your mind and think about things, I feel like really guided me. It was good. I mean, I can't say enough for the fact that working with a team who's experienced in working with psychedelics and experienced working with people like me makes all the difference, as opposed to, because I knew I was curious and I had no idea where to start or how much or how often or anything. And I would do it again in a second. I think it's important for anyone, regardless of whether they used in the past or not. I think it's critical for people who have no experience with psychedelics, because there were times when it was too heavy and I could feel it, but I knew what was going on and I could verbalize it to them, and so we would redirect, and it would be fine. It's just something that happens when you're on these sort of medicines, where there'll be some waves where it's just like, ooh, and it's to the point of like, oh, this is too intense, but then you work through that and it's good. So again, I can't say enough for the team, and to approach it this way and to prepare for it this way, I think was critical. And
Awesome. And before you had this experience, and this might be the same answer, but do you feel like you have a different perspective before versus after on what your next steps are in your healing process?
I feel like it was just the first step. I'm not saying I'm going to have a ceremony once a month or anything like that, but I had, especially for the first few days after the ceremony, I had the craziest sensation where I could still kind of feel it for days, and I wasn't taking microdoses or anything at all. And I just kind of, it was impossible to put into words. It was just looking at life, feeling life through a little bit different lens or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was good, and it was all in the positive sense for sure. So, moving forward, it's like, I feel like that first journey was just the first journey. I feel like some of the stuff that came out, boom, it needed to come out, and it was worked on. And I think there's more inside my head that I want to explore, and there's more of the universe I want to explore. And so I think I don't think it's a one-time fix-all sort of thing. I think it's a matter of continuing on your path to mindfulness and using the medicines when appropriate to do so. And as of now, I'm still not on SSRIs. I'm 2 weeks out. And like I said, I'm very, very light on the gabapentin. I mostly use it for an overactive brain where it's this ping, the hummingbird syndrome, I call it, where my brain is just like, and that's it. It's things are good. I am doing microdoses. I'm doing like a 2 on, 1 off regimen, but it's like truly microdoses where I'm not feeling any sort of a journey or anything like that. I don't really feel it on. I take it later in the day when I can be in more mindful, calm sort of space and use it then as opposed to during normal daily. But I'll continue to do that and working on setting up a date for a follow up because I feel like I've just barely tapped the surface of what's possible.
That's awesome. I mean, I feel like something that's really important to think, especially when you're going through addiction and I mean these are huge life swings, like having any sort of disruption in your life is challenging. Anybody, you divorce or moving, loss of a loved one, all of these life shifts, they uproot things, and even if it was someone passing or the relationship you developed, the experience that you had, in the case of addiction, it didn't happen in one day. It didn't happen over a short period of time. It was a long period of time, and the healing process doesn't have to be as long as you were, in the challenging space, but it's not just flip,
No, I didn't, I wasn't naive in thinking that, I would, take a journey and suddenly everything would be perfect. I'd be cured for life. I knew that.
Yeah.
And I got a lot out of it, and I'm going to continue on that path. I mean, I just consider it part of my routine now, as much as yoga or meditation or anything else. It's going to be part of it.
Yeah.
I didn't mention one thing when I was talking about the days after the ceremony. One of the neat things that really confirmed that I wanted to try treatment of psilocybin is all the research coming out that shows, like in the side-by-side clinical trials, they're doing Lexapro with Group A and psilocybin with Group B, and the psilocybin group they were recording actual neural changes to the brain, network changes. Like the psilocybin was enabling brains to start to grow and to grow new synapses and extend the nerve network inside there. And it was the craziest sensation for days where I felt like people were like knitting on the top of my head. It was just this constant. That's the,
Just sort of like
I can't. Someone like an old lady in my brain knitting away. I could just feel it. Feel like a little movements, and I just feel like I don't know. It was cool. It was really weird.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I'm not making. I can't make this stuff up. If you look back to
these are your experiences. It's all valid. Absolutely.
So.
So what do you feel like your next step is? You had some pre-sessions. You got tapered down. You had some pre-sessions. You had your macrodose. Sounds like you have some microdoses, which are decriminalized in the area that you're at, so it's legal for you to have those. Just want to put that out there. And what's the next step? You have a few more sessions, I believe, with your support, and then what's next?
A few more post-ops sessions with my support, and then it's a continuation. I'm gonna start working towards my next journey, which will be sometime this summer, probably by the end of July. So the spacing would be about 6 weeks, which is, in talking to my team, that's pretty good. So that's my goal. In the meantime, I'm just working on my life. 6 months ago, I was a broken man. I lost my family. I lost my dogs. I lost my possessions. I lost my house. I lost everything. And so it's been a rebuild from the ground up. And so I'm using every possible, thing that can help me in my, every resource I have that could possibly be making me the person I want to be. I'm using them. And this this area, and the medicine is, I feel, a really, really important part of it.
That's amazing. That's, I mean,
Hmm.
that's quite a story. And to be, you know, hopeful and, moving in a direction, because that's 6 months ago is not that long ago. It's really not. I think people think time wise, a lot can happen in 6 months, but, that's,
It's been a pretty busy 6 months for me, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of time now.
yeah, yeah, it's amazing, amazing work you're doing. And I'm really glad that you've got the team to support you. And,
Well, my team is amazing. I have a few select people that are privy to everything that's going on in my life, and they're aware, and they're extremely supportive and curious themselves. And I haven't. It's not like I walk off a T-shirt with a mushroom on or something like that. But at the same time, it's like if I know people and I'm comfortable with them, I do share, because I feel that strongly about it. There are certain people I know that I would wish that they would try it. I wish that they would pursue that direction as well, because I feel it'd be very beneficial.
yeah.
And I definitely, my team at Hololife, I'd like to be a part of that team at some point, because I feel like they are in a place where they could do a lot of good for a lot of people. And I did a couple of support groups after my online, like, Zoom support groups for psychedelics, and I didn't find a good one. And I think there's a big gap there. But the one thing I did discover when I was in these chat rooms was there is a lot more curiosity or need out there than there are providers. There's a lot of people who are doing the research and reading the articles and going to the websites, and oh my God, where is it? And it's just becoming so much forefront. I've shared so many. My circle, we all share meetings, or not meetings, share interesting things with each other, and it's like the work that great doctors are doing is popping up everywhere. It's now on CNN. They're talking about using psilocybin for PTSD and stress and anxiety and depression and all that. CNN, it's not like
Yeah.
Mother. We're talking like prime time. And then they have the big documentary, the 4-part documentary coming out on Netflix this month,
Yeah.
based on what's his name's book.
Michael Pollan's
Yes,
book.
that's, and here's the
Your mind. Oh, yeah. It's amazing, right? It's popping
actually
up everywhere.
purchased in a long, long time, but it's everywhere. It's fascinating.
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of potential. It's an amazing time to be alive right now. And I'm sorry that the reasons that, brought you here, but what a beautiful opportunity. And also you're taking the incentive to move forward. You're doing the things to change your life, which is, I think, addiction makes it sort of stunts you in a way. And not I speak from experience. I too have suffered with addiction, so I understand what that feels like. And it feels like, oh, what am I going to do next? But then you do something, you make a step, and then you take another step, and then before you know it, you're 6 months down the line, and you're moving in the direction of rebuilding your life. And I have a feeling you're not going to stop anytime soon. It doesn't seem like you.
No. I've always thought there was something more out there, like something deeper, something more meaningful than just living everyday living. And for decades, I've just, it's like a flavor you can't recognize. You can't put a name to it or something. I've had this experience predominantly when I was on, having journeys, but just also in particular periods of my life where there's this weird angst, this hunger, this whatever. There's more out there, and I want to figure it out and use it to, cement my place in this world, and go in the direction I think is most useful to me and to the rest of the world. And not to sound all mystical or something like that, but it's I don't know. Life has changed quite a bit in the last 6 months, and I'm still trying to figure out right direction to go. So
you sound hopeful. I don't know about mystical, maybe mystical, but you sound hopeful. It's beautiful.
I am hopeful. I had 6 months ago, I had zero hope. And these days I have lots of hope, and I've managed to overcome a lot and prove to myself that I'm strong enough to do it. And so still trying. Got a long ways to go.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Eric. I really appreciate it.